The euro dollar seems to be in a path of a hike of more than 1.5 years, while the dollar yen seems to be close to levels around 90. James Chen, Chief Technical Strategist at City Index Group, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Naomi.
Okay, James, so what's your forecast for the euro dollar in the medium and long term? Is it going to keep the trend?
Well, basically on a shorter term basis, we are seeing a lot of upside. We're seeing moves, pretty sharp moves to the upside. I see resistance at around 135 on euro dollar. I'm looking for a turn back to the downside. I'm looking for longer term bearishness on euro dollar. For the time being, we are seeing some upside moves, but overall, I'm looking for a turn to the downside, possibly down to the 130 level and below that, well below that in the longer term. But at the current time, we are seeing a correction to the upside, but overall bearish on euro dollar for me.
Okay, and about the dollar yen, what do you think? Is it possible that the Bank of Japan is going to intervene again in the economy and carry the pair to levels close to 100 or maybe higher?
It's always possible for the Bank of Japan to intervene, and we've seen this huge move to the upside, this huge trend ever since I believe it's October of 2012. Very sharp moves to the upside. We've seen very shallow corrections to the downside, which means that it's a very strong uptrend. So most recently we've seen a larger correction, but still in terms of that type of correction, we're only seeing around a 38.2% Fibonacci retracement of the overall trend. So it's really not that deep. So I am looking for further upside. We will probably see a further downside correction on dollar yen, but overall, yes, I agree with what you're saying. I believe it's going to go further up, and I'm looking at 100, 103, and then from there even further to the upside to break out above the last high that we had.
Okay, and about the pound, recently you wrote that the pound versus the dollar may climb above 1.5750, but after that it may turn back to the downside. Do you see it happening in the short, medium term?
I actually see that happening in the rather short term. So much like what I'm looking at on the euro dollar, I am looking for further weakening of the pound and further a little bit further strengthening in the U.S. dollar. So yeah, I mean, we have seen, much like we've seen on the euro dollar, on the pound dollar, we have seen significant upside, but I am looking for, at some point soon, a turn to the downside and a resumption of the, the very strong downtrend that we've seen since the beginning of the year. So yeah, I am looking for further downside there.
And my last question would be, which currency pair would you recommend to trade nowadays?
Nowadays, yeah, that's a good question. There's a lot of volatility going on. What I really like is the Australian dollar against the U.S. dollar. We've seen a tremendous move down, a tremendous bearish trend, and I don't see that stopping anytime soon. Recently we've seen a little bit of a correction back up, but I don't see that really, really playing out much further. So I am looking for much further downside in Aussie dollar, and a lot of large traders, a lot of big traders are trading short on the Australian dollar. So that for me is a very good pair to trade.
Okay, thank you very much, James, for your advice.
Thank you very much, Ryan.